My name is Angie Viscianen, and I am the founder of Leg Up Legal. We provide a mentoring program that connects pre-law students to attorneys to learn more about the legal profession, to help them really decide if law school is the right choice for them. And we started doing these meetups at the beginning of COVID-19 so that people in our community could really interact together and meet each other and meet lots of professionals that they've been interacting with on LinkedIn in real time, so that you can chat with each other and learn from each other. So I'm super excited today to introduce Ariella Coleman. She's the founder of the Wellness Esquire, and she is a lawyer that strongly believes in living your life and making sure that you're taking care of yourself while you're being a lawyer. So Ariella, I will let you take it away.
Thanks, Angie. I'm really excited to get this opportunity. As I said before, this is the sort of thing that I would have really benefited from participating in when I was a student. And so this is fun for me. So I am, as Angie said, the founder of the Wellness Esquire. I am an FDA regulatory attorney, and while I love that part of my career, I ended up in the last sort of year or so focusing on and realizing how grateful I was to have certain wellness practices kind of in my back pocket to help me through the inevitable stress that just in life and also in my career as a lawyer I was experiencing. And so the kind of backstory to it is I had a moment of just thinking about the tools that I now have to help me through these stressful times. And then I was thinking about how amazing it would have been if I'd known how to do any of this stuff when I was a student. And thinking about just the lack of resources out there for students, whether you're a college student or a law student, and for lawyers in general, just to help you figure out how to care for yourself so you can have a long, happy, successful, fulfilling career. And so that kind of led me to launching the Wellness Esquire. I was thinking back to when I was in law school and realizing that when I got there, everyone kind of told us that we were going to be stressed out for the rest of our lives, but no one really gave us the tools to deal with that. Everyone knew that that was coming for us, but they just, no one was kind of equipped to help us deal with it. And that's something that really leads to burnout and stress and health problems, and makes it really hard to have a sustainable career. And so that all of those things has kind of just led me to launch the Wellness Esquire as a resource for lawyers and for law students and other professionals to understand that there's really an important connection between well-being and success. So before I kind of go on with this, I wonder if Catherine and Sheila and Bob, if you want to just kind of tell me a little bit about you, name what, where you, well, I see your names, but where you are in your, career, if you're a student, what year you are, what you're dealing with. And I'd love to know, I'll start with this, but I'd love to know something that you're afraid of, and something that you're proud of, because I think it's really important to learn to identify those things and have that awareness. So I'll start, and then I'll turn it over to Angie, and you can share something that you're afraid of and or proud of. So for me, I have had a lifetime of being afraid of looking stupid. And so that has really, so because that's been a lifelong thing for me, it really prevented me from asking all of the questions and speaking up for myself and allowing my voice to be heard. And that's been really rough. And I'm proud of myself for learning how to kind of embrace that fear and decide, okay, if someone thinks I'm stupid, oh, well, that's too bad for them. That says more about them than me. And so I'm proud of myself for deciding really more recently to just try new things, ask all the questions I want to ask, and just feel powerful in my own voice and not worrying so much about the external judgments. So Angie, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, Ariella. So one of the things that I was always afraid of was looking too young or too immature, or like I didn't know what I was doing. Much like you, I think that that's a very real fear for many people. I was always told when I was younger that I looked like I wasn't a lawyer. I had plenty of people assume I wasn't a lawyer. Times that I was in rooms and people assumed I was court reporter, staff, anything other than a lawyer. And even actually at the very first hearing that I showed up to represent my client in, the bailiff assumed that I wasn't a lawyer and told the judge that my client wasn't represented. And so we were waiting until my client was represented until start. And so they started the hearing late because they didn't even think that I was a lawyer. I had to step up and say, no, I'm here. I represent this person. And that's really, really scary to say. So I think, I was always afraid of looking like I was too junior. Because I had this idea in my mind that the most well-respected lawyers were people, who were much more senior, who had experience, who had gravitas. And I didn't see a lot of other people in the profession who looked like me or sounded like me or acted like me. And so I think that it took a while for me to feel comfortable in my own skin, like you. And now, I think it's the greatest compliment when people tell me, oh, but you're not my idea of a lawyer. I'm like, good. Because I think most people, when they think of lawyers, they think of like some mean, grouchy person who takes themselves way too seriously and stresses out way too much. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want that to represent what our profession is. So yeah, I think that, it's important to know what your own strengths are. And one of my strengths was really being a connector of people and being somebody who could show people that you don't have to fit into this box of who you think a lawyer is to be successful. And I think that the more that you own that, the better off you will be.
I love that. I really thank you for sharing, Angie. And I think, you kind of turned, the fact that you don't look like a typical lawyer into your superpower. And I think that's also part of what's letting you be so successful in connecting with law students and pre-law students, because, you're warm and you're welcoming and you're inviting and you're not intimidating. And so, for some students who may really be interested in entering the law, but don't even know, don't know how to kind of enter into those conversations, you can say like, actually there's so many ways to look like a lawyer, to be a lawyer. It's not, one size fits all thing. We're not all in a box. Let's have, an easy conversation about this. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Bob, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, Ariella.
Hi.
Hi, Angie, and Catherine, Sheila, and Emily. How are you guys? So I don't know if everybody is a law student out there, other than the three of us who are not law students, but I'll speak as though you were. So I am. My name is Bob. I'm a lawyer. I've seen and been privileged enough to present some things with Ariella before, and so I'm glad to be here and watch her do her thing. I would just say, I guess I would answer like this. I would echo what Angie and Ariella said and say that, so I've been a lawyer for a long time. I coach now and strategize with lawyers and law firms. And I run a podcast called Iron Advocate, in which my partner and I, Jeff, have on many, many lawyers that talk about all these issues that Ariella and Angie are talking about with you today. So I guess I would say, so my fears, I'm, scared of everything. It is always just on a level, right? So now I produce lots of content about lawyers and their emotions and their feelings, and I still worry about what people will say, what the lawyers that I know will say about what I'm doing and what people will think about you. And what I would echo from what was said is that doesn't go away. And it's part of many professions. It's particularly part of the legal profession. And so recognizing it as Angie did and making it her superpower as Ariella characterized it is what's really critical about it, because no matter where you get to in the law, there will be somebody out there that makes you feel a certain way or is trying to knock you down a peg, is trying to step up over you to get somewhere. And that's not to say the law is not an awesome, incredible place, because it certainly provided me with many lifetimes of experiences that I never would trade. But the nature of the practice and a lot of the interactions, which I'm sure Ariella will talk some about today, just kind of breed that. So it's about recognizing it and moving toward it, not away from it. And I'm just proud to be here talking with you guys about it, to the extent anybody has anything that they think they could take from what I say. So if you're doing exams, good luck out there and have fun. And you'll keep feeling anxiety about them, and you'll be scared about them, and you'll worry about them. Just think about that before you start the exam and let it go, because it's not going to make you perform any better. That's for sure.
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, you know, you and I have talked about this a lot, the importance of embracing fear. And that's been one of the most valuable things for me to learn and recognize. And I wish I had understood that. I think maybe if the students here have just get one takeaway, it's, you know, identify and embrace your fears. Because if you let them kind of run your life, you won't get as far and you'll just be scared. But if you can learn to understand what they are and even where they're coming from and unravel that and just run towards and embrace the fear, I don't think you'll be sorry. You'll really find the success that you're looking for. You'll feel fulfilled and you'll feel like yourself. You know, for me, when I was too fearful to ask questions and you know, followed the paths that I felt, you know, were good for me, I wasn't happy. I felt, you know, some regret and, you know, felt upset that I was being eaten up by the fear, and feeling paralyzed by it. And once I decided, you know, let's just own it. Whatever happens is going to be great. If nothing else, I'll learn from this, and next time we'll go better, or, you know, whatever it is. That's been really one of the most important lessons for me. And so I'm hoping that all of you kind of leave today with that understanding. And I know Bob has a lot of stories about, you know, how he's learned over the years to tackle all those challenges. And at the beginning of his career, just, you know, there's a lot of lessons to learn from someone who's been doing this for a long time. You know, if anyone's interested, his Iron Advocate podcast is really phenomenal, and it's especially in a way for young lawyers and students to understand that even the really successful lawyers who've been doing this for a long time, they still have fears. You know, when I realized that it wasn't just the newbies who were freaking out, I actually started to calm down because I thought that I was just way behind everybody else. So anyways, we can talk more about that. Catherine, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I might be the only other non-law student because I'm a pre-law student at Yale on a gap year. Something I'm proud of, I guess, is kind of like with facing my fears. My family hasn't, like, I don't have any lawyers in my family, and I've done a lot of things where my family doesn't have experience with. So I like that I've been able to put myself out there and like seek learning opportunities for myself and like my ambition, I guess. But that kind of leads into my fear because like I've always called this ambition, but I also hear about all those stories of, you know, burning out, and I feel like I see in me like the epitome of the template of someone who burns out, and like my mindset, I feel like resonates with that. And so I am kind of concerned about like where that is. Like I feel fine right now, but I also feel like I fit with that pattern. So yeah, I want to learn more about that.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I think that really resonates with me because I am built to be a workaholic. I'm just built that way. And I think a lot of lawyers are, you know, many of us are type A perfectionists, go, and, you know, just don't stop and, you know, do whatever it takes kind of people, which is great to a certain extent, you know, that you got your, you know, lawyers. I think most of us, if not all of us, really, you know, have a lot of grit, and that's really valuable. But there's also, you know, it's important to find a balance so that we don't get taken over by all of those kind of internal drivers, and, you know, make sure that we can actually stay healthy and not burn out, and, you know, figure out how to have a sustainable career that really, you know, kind of lines up with who we are and what our values are. So I think it's really fantastic that you're already recognizing, you know, this in yourself so that you can best prepare yourself. I can tell you for sure, I knew that I was a workaholic, but I thought that was a good thing. It never occurred to me that might really actually kind of have a downside to it. And so I'm really impressed that you've figured this out already, because I think you'll be able to go through law school and your law career just healthier and more comfortable, because you'll have that awareness so that you know, okay, I need to have these routines set up, and I need to have, you know, these kinds of, you know, whatever resources and contacts, so that you can make sure that you really can stay happy and you know, have a career that you're excited about. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. Emily, do you want to go next? Feel free to put your camera on if you're comfortable. Otherwise, I like the, you know, do whatever works for you.
My camera is on, but sometimes it's weird. I'm sorry, but I'm here. I'd split mine into two. Constantly being like not sure whether I'm prepared. Like there's a point where you know things, and then there's a point when you're like absolutely certain of something. And like when I'm watching YouTube videos, for example, there's this Neil deGrasse Tyson commercial where he's like, there's a point where you know enough to think you're right, but then at the same time, you don't even know that you're wrong because you're ignorant about like the full scope of it. And that commercial's been torturing me for like a good couple months. I think it's for Masterclass or something like that. And then the other thing is, even if you have like a feedback system, like let's say, you know, when you're a lawyer, you have your partners, right? If you're an associate lawyer, there will be times where people actually like care to invest in you, to like give you that feedback. And there's this Randy Pausch like lecture where he's like, and then there will be people who don't care enough to tell you when you're wrong. And like you never, this is a sort of like the uncertainty of knowing whether or not somebody's gonna like be the gutter protector like for a bowling ball, or whether you haven't sufficiently built that relationship, or you've turned them off, or that's not really their job to be like, okay, swerve back into the middle, you know? So it's kind of like a compound fear.
Yeah. So Emily, are you a law student, a college student? Where are you in your?
I graduated college in 2013, and I'm hoping to start law school in fall of 2022.
Awesome. So, you know, it's such an interesting point that you bring up, this question of, you know, how do I even know what I don't know? I think is what I was hearing you say. And there's, you know, it's a reasonable thing to have fear around, you know, am I prepared enough? Do I really, you know, how do I even know if I'm prepared enough? And then just having that fear, since you know, you feel like you don't even know how to know if you're prepared, how to make sure that you are. And that's a reasonable fear. And you know, I think I can certainly relate to that. I think, you know, for me, something that's been really valuable is learning to just have self-awareness and emotional awareness, and be okay finding people to ask all the questions. And, you know, and it's hard because you do have to, you know, figure out who you can trust and who's, you know, on your side and in your corner. But it really, you know, I think the more you know, it does become easier to know what you don't know. I think you can understand your gaps. But it's, you know, I think one of the ways to kind of deal with that at the beginning when you really don't know anything is to recognize like you don't know anything, and that's also okay. I wish someone had said to me, you know, when I was in law school and earlier on in my career, you're not supposed to know very much. It's really been only, you know, quite recently that I started having other really valuable conversations with other lawyers to understand that, you know, we all kind of graduate law school feeling lost, and like, you know, we should know more than we do. And how is it possible that we went through, you know, all this education and still don't really even know what we don't know? We, you know, or what we do know, you know, not feeling confident in what we do know. And so I think just having the open conversations, you know, allowing yourself to acknowledge as you are, you know, just for yourself, and then talking with other people about this is really helpful. You know, partly just so that you don't feel alone, and then maybe somebody can guide you through the, you know, the specific instances that you're dealing with. But yeah, that's that's a fair concern. Thank you so much for sharing. Sheila, do you want to go next?
Sorry.
No worries.
So I'm Sheila. I am a 2L at Cardozo. Fears. Oh, I have a ton of them right now. Crashing economy, not finding a job, being at the bottom of the curve. OCI is in January. It was moved to January instead of August. So I'm like, it all revolves around that. You know, finding a job.
Yeah. All fair concerns. How are you dealing with all of that?
I don't know. I'm attending events like these just to hear everyone's story and what everybody does. And like right now I'm taking a break from exams and just taking time to like not think about the actual exam so I can rest my brain, and also just what little information I can get, because I always learn a little something from one of these, even if like 95% of this is something I've already heard before. Usually there's like at least a 1 or 2% of something new that I didn't know in a new perspective. So that helps.
I love that. You know, I try to go into events or anything really just with the mindset, if I come out of this having learned one thing, it was valuable. I really can't imagine the stress that those of you who are students are going through right now. You know, I think being in law school and college, you know, in different ways, it's all isolating enough, not during a pandemic. And so I honestly just really commend all of you for getting through just to this point. And you know, it's hard. And so you know, feel free, by the way, any of you, to, you know, just speak up with questions or, you know, comments throughout this whole thing. I you know, want this to be as valuable for you as possible. And so, you know, I've got some plans of what to talk about, but I really, you know, if you have anything in particular you want to chat about, please feel free to share. And Sheila, you know, with you said you're at 2L, right?
Yes.
So you had 1 year of at least, you know, being an in-person student.
Half a year.
Half a year. Oh, yikes. So how is that difference changing your stress level and your ability to just cope and learn and process?
It's really hard to focus in class. It's really easy to just zone out because I'm at home. I also have a couple pets. I have a child and a husband. There's always interruptions and stuff. So I end up like, I lock myself in a room, but someone always comes in at some point during the day, several times a day. So I end up spending sometime between 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m., sometimes 11 here, just trying to study and trying to get everything together and maybe go into some events. That's the only good thing about this, is that I don't have to worry about commute times.
Yeah.
So I can just log in.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and is there anything else you wanted to say about, you know, the fears and the hard stuff of the you know, experience of going through law school right now? I don't want to make sure I don't cut you off.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It sounds weird. I know that every law student has this fear, no matter when they went to school, but it's just like extra. I feel like it's extra stressful right now because during the spring semester, all the schools went pass fail. So then normal OCI times, most people didn't get ranked. My school didn't rank absolutely anyone. OCI was moved to January instead of usually, you know, August, September. Some of the firms are putting up, you know, they're asking you to submit your resume. And I'm like, I don't even know if I'm eligible to apply for this one firm or this other firm because I'm not sure where I stand at this point.
Do you have people at your school who can guide you?
I mean, yeah, we do have an Office of Careers and Services, but you know, like how certain firms, they want you to be at a certain part of the class.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm at that point of the class right now because no one was ranked.
Yeah.
My suggestion for those people, because I've actually been coaching a lot of people about OCI right now. My suggestion is do what you did in 1L year. You know, 1L year, you're applying to internships like during the winter break before you have any grades back and you don't know where anybody lies in the entire class. And that's actually the best time for you to be looking because you don't already have an assigned metric to you. Once you have an assigned metric, then you got to work around it, whatever your rank happens to be. But before then, you can just apply to things and act like the assumption is I'm qualified for this. And, you know, go into it with the confidence that you will interview there and, you know, talk about your skills, talk about the things that you've done and use that as your opportunity to just get your foot into the door. And if it comes back and your grades come back and you aren't eligible, well, they've already matched a face to a name, and you might get a chance even if you're not qualified for grade wise. But I think a lot of employers are very sympathetic to the understanding that many of the law schools did go pass fail, so they're not looking at that negatively, unless it's a fail, of course. But if it's a pass, then they're not going to say, okay, well, we're just going to completely discount that. I think that you can just operate under the assumption that if they aren't telling you what your rank is, then you're qualified. Go ahead and apply for those positions.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's not like an affirmative burden, like I can prove I'm top 5%. It sounds like it's like disqualifying once you know. Is that like how it works?
Yes and no. So, I mean, there are going to be some firms that say don't apply unless you're in the top 25% of your class or top 30% of your class. But if you don't know, and the reason you don't know is because everybody's pass fail and you didn't get a rank, then I think that you can go ahead and apply. Now, if you know and you don't meet that cutoff, then you probably don't want to apply to that particular position. But if they don't specify at all and they're just a very prestigious firm, and so a lot of students think, oh, they're a prestigious firm, they're not going to take anybody under the 20%, so I'm not even going to apply. But they don't even say that in their job description. If they don't say it in their job description, apply. But if they do say you have to be top 25% and that you're not top 25%, that's the only time that I wouldn't apply. But otherwise, apply. Let them take you out of the running. Don't take yourself out of the running. So
that's such a great point. Something that I've come to realize and think about in a way that I never really had before is I used to be a person who, you look at job requirements, the job postings, and a lot of the time women will see, 6, boxes that they haven't, they don't check off, they don't, and decide that they don't qualify, they're not good enough, and they don't apply. I have absolutely fallen into that bucket. And research really shows, and I've conversations that I've had with men, they really approach it very differently. And so they just decide, okay, well, like, I kind of know what that's talking about. I kind of check off this box. I'm going to apply. The worst thing that happens is I get rejected. And, okay, no one likes being rejected. That's not fun. You're not going for, aiming for that. But that is the worst thing that happens. The best thing that happens is you maybe, get an interview or a job. And, you also, just by going through the process, you get practice. And that's one of the most valuable things about this whole process as well. You just, there's practice involved, and anything, anytime you're kind of going through the application process and the job search, there's skills to that, whether you get this job or not, it's going to help you grow in the end. So you might as well jump on if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheila, actually, to the point that you said, it's a nerve-wracking time right now because you're scared that there won't be jobs out there. I remember that very vividly because I came out of school right after the last Great Recession and nobody was getting jobs. And I graduated actually in 2013, and that was when the market actually started to swing back. But the graduates in the year before me and the year before them, that was when everybody was getting furloughed. There was no jobs. Everybody was like, the whispers in the law school was that it was painful and nobody was getting a job. And so I remember hearing that, but just thinking like, how is that possible? Like, there are gonna always be, some firms that need people. There's gotta be ways to get into these firms. And a lot of it is your own mindset. If you keep telling yourself there's no jobs, then that'll be the reality. There won't be any jobs for you. But I think there's always going to be room in the profession for people who know how to network, who know how to talk to people, who know how to build relationships, who know how to make opportunities for themselves. Just because your school may not have many opportunities available on their job boards or through OCI doesn't mean they're not out there. You need to be talking to lawyers, making relationships with people, and playing the long game, because even if you don't get a position today, tomorrow, next month, next year, they may have something the year after, and I know a couple of people that came out in 2012 did not get jobs, but after about a year or two, they all landed somewhere. So it may take a little more time than you planned, but doesn't mean that they're not out there.
Awesome. So if I think we've gone through everybody. So I want to, again, feel free to just jump in, ask questions, share comments. And I want to kind of get into talking about why taking care of yourself is an investment for your future. I think it's really important to recognize that lawyers really do have a unique kind of stress. Everyone around us, especially right now, is dealing with a lot of stress, but lawyers have more of it for a couple of reasons. And some of them I pointed to, the most, if not all of us are, the type A perfectionist, fear of failure, fear of vulnerability. We're very competitive, we're judgmental. That's just kind of the nature of the industry and the type of person who typically goes into the industry. And for a lot of us too, for most of our lives, we've just been excelling at things. And all of a sudden we're in this environment where it's hard and maybe we're not doing so well. And we feel like everyone around us is doing better than we are. And we don't understand why, I used to, feeling like I used to be really smart. I used to be really good at everything I did. What happened? Who am I? And you kind of, I think I personally kind of had an identity crisis in a way, just thinking like, wait, why is this so hard? And having to realize, oh, I've never learned this way. This is really a new way of thinking. And of course, I'm not good at it yet. I've never done it before. That takes practice. And so, there are those kinds of internal factors that lead to just a tremendous amount of stress. And then there's the external stuff, student loans. That's stressful. It's something that I think many of us may not even think about really the impact of it before law school, but certainly once you get out or maybe while you're going through, it starts to really weigh on you. And for a lot of people, that also ends up impacting the jobs that you take. I think it's pretty common for people to go into law school kind of with a mission and thinking, they're gonna go to law school, they're gonna get a job like helping people and doing public interest work, and that they're not going into the industry because they care about money. But guess what? When you're, buried in $200,000 of student loans or whatever it is, you start to, feel kind of crumbled by that, or you can, and that can really drive your decisions. And, you may not even have that much say in where you get a job. Sometimes you just have to take whatever you can get. And so, and another, external factor that I think a lot of us deal with is there's this kind of externally decided definition of success. And many of us don't think about how to learn to define success for ourselves. But in the industry, and even outside of law, people just looking in, often think that, oh, you're a lawyer, that means you're making a lot of money. And, success means you're, a partner or on the partner track at a big law firm. And so it's really, easy to get just swept up in that and kind of forget who you are and what your values are and why you went to law school in the first place. And the judgment and comparison is really amplified, just starting on day one in law school and certainly after. And so with all of that going on, the internal and the external stuff, it can be really hard to make space for your own views and your own goals. And it can be really hard to stay focused on who you are, remember why you went on this path in the first place. And, for a lot of us too, when you decide to enter into law school right after college or just in the last, the couple of years after college, you're still pretty young. You haven't done a ton of life yet. And so you may not really have had a chance to understand who you are as a person. And it's hard to identify what kind of a career path and what kind of a job is going to suit you when you don't even, really understand who you are as a person yet. And I think attached to that, as well as many of us don't even know really how to figure out who we are. For me, I was always such a go, go, go type of a person and genuinely felt, I no longer feel this way, but I used to really have this sense that, someone who rested and took time off and just kind of chilled out and relaxed when there was so much, such a huge to-do list. I thought those people were lazy. I have since changed my opinion and find that really valuable because some of that rest time allows you to get clarity on who you are and to figure out, what you want and what's going to make you happy. And And so a little bit of a backstory about that for me is I was really not giving myself the space to figure out who I was and to make sure that I was on the right path for a long time. And it wasn't until I got a concussion that I tried to push through, and then really ended up being forced to take a time out and recover. And I was bored out of my mind, miserable, wanting to get back to work because I feel, part of it was I felt like I wasn't yet successful, so I couldn't take time off. And so that process of sitting bored out of my mind at home in the dark really forced me to learn how to self-reflect. And that was something I'd never really done before. And I think lawyers often don't, because we're just, the go, go, go types, and we don't pause. And that can be harmful. And what happened for me was, I felt forced into that self-reflection phase initially. But now I'm really grateful for it, because it helped me to identify, what was working for me and what wasn't. And it's hard to figure all of that out when you don't pause. So that, a lot of the conversations that I've had with lawyers, it's led me to understand that, a lot of the time it's those kinds of issues that lead people to struggling with their weight, whether it's, overeating because they don't know how to deal with the stress, and, or because they, think that there's no time to exercise, so they don't make the time for it. Or, it's people who turn to alcohol or other substances because they're freaking out and they don't know what else to do. And they don't have kind of the mindset tools or the mind body practices to help them cope. It's unfortunately such a the issues of alcoholism and depression and addiction and suicide attempts, burnout, all of that is unfortunately really common in our industry. And so if you're looking to enter into it, I think it's really important that you kind of set yourself up. Catherine, a little bit of what you were talking about is you identified that you're the kind of person who can burn out. And so you want to understand, okay, so, who am I? Why am I maybe prone to that? And then what can I do to prevent that from happening so that I don't completely fall apart? And because I think, a lot of people who end up leaving the law, it's not because they don't like being lawyers or they're not well suited to being lawyers. It's that they don't know how to set their lives up for a happy and sustainable career. And so, part of that is, for me, at least, I think it really starts with mindfulness. And I think it's simpler than people might think. You can practice it doing anything during the day. You can practice mindful walking. You can do it just sitting still, but it's really just the practice of learning to become aware of yourself and your surroundings. And I think maybe the second thing, if you take anything out of this, is learn to put your phone away. One of the things that has been really helpful for me and others who I've had this conversation with is learning to distance yourself from technology, because we are kind of living in a world that we're not comfortable sitting in discomfort. When something's hard for us, we just reach for something that's going to ease that pain or that discomfort. So, we've got social media at our fingertips. That's easy. So, when something's stressful or, we don't know how to approach a situation or handle something, or something's been upsetting, we just grab our phones and we start scrolling through whatever it is. Choose your favorite social media, you pick up a game, whatever it is. And so you're training your brain to not be able to cope with the stressors, to not be able to embrace the fear, or whatever those negative emotions are. And that's, long-term really detrimental for your health, and your overall, well-being and happiness and stress load. So I really see mindfulness as kind of the step one. It's what unlocks all of it. It helps you become aware of what's going on for you. What am I feeling? Okay, so I think I'm feeling fear, or this is nervousness. Why am I kind of getting this weird feeling in my body before I'm doing a speech, or before, I'm doing, I'm taking an exam? What is that knot in my stomach? What's going on? Let's unravel that and really understand what's going on, so that you can, as I said before, run towards the fear or whatever that negative emotion is, instead of kind of becoming paralyzed by it. My example in my intro of myself was that I had a lifetime of just being terrified of looking stupid. And so that really impaired my growth and my learning. And so it really changed when I just decided, no, the best thing for me is to grow as a person. How am I going to do that? I have to let go of being so scared of how other people perceive me. And that's hard. Don't get me wrong. This is not me saying, it's easy to figure all this stuff out. It is really hard, but I think especially when you can create a community around it and have people to go to and help you through those challenges, that's where your true growth begins, and that's where you can really figure out what you want your life to look like, how you can design your life and your career in a way that really suits you, and not somebody else. And so other things that are really important to make sure that you find ways to incorporate into your lifestyle to make sure that you're balancing out the stress with whatever kind of calms you down or resets you. Exercise, whether, and it doesn't have to be something really strenuous, just move, take a walk. If you're watching a lecture, stand up. You don't have to sit all day long. Consider reaching out to your professors and asking for them to send you their slide decks so that you don't have to stare at the screen all day. Maybe you have a paper copy. Because, for me, staring at a screen is really hard for my eyes, and I don't actually focus as well. So, and it's easier to get distracted. And so if I can, figure out for myself what is making it harder for me to learn and succeed, identify that, learn, figure out what the question is, what would be the solution, and get there if you can. It's that's part of you just standing up for yourself as well. And that's an important kind of, thing to learn how to do, throughout your life and your career. Along with the exercises, make sure that you're nourishing your body. Drink water all day long. If you can, learn to scratch the soda. I think a lot of people don't realize that the way we're feeding our brains and our body really affects how we manage to get through the day. Thinking dehydrates us. And so if you're in classes all day long and you haven't had a sip of water and you're feeling kind of anxious and brain foggy, well, guess what? You're dehydrated. So it's kind of simple things like that really, we often don't talk about or think about, but make a tremendous impact on your ability to get through the day, and feel good. And when you feel good and you feel happy, you're going to be a lot more productive and successful that day and in the long term. And then I think the next couple of things kind of all bulk together, which is find people. Make sure that you're not alone. Loneliness, the law is a really isolating place to begin with. Part of it is the comparison game that we all play. Part of it is the judgment or the fear of judgment. That's just unfortunately the nature of the industry, which, maybe will change one day, but we are where we are. And so part of what's really valuable or helpful to help you get through all of that is make sure that you have a supportive community. Maybe that's your family. Maybe you've got a good group of friends. Maybe it's your law school classmates, and you can all kind of figure out how to bond over the stress and the fear, but not just leave it as, I'm freaking out, but, what can we do about this? Okay, maybe we're going to do a 5-minute meditation, or we're going to, just watch a movie, or just veg out for a little bit, or, play a game, whatever it is. But find people who really have your back. And it's a great idea if you can get, therapists or coaches or both, mentors, find people who you can really talk through all of these things with. I think people don't realize necessarily really how stressed out we are and how unique the stress is. And that, the part of what's paralyzing is when you think it's just you dealing with all of this. And so if you can find others to relate to, And maybe it's just listening to, Bob's podcast and realizing that everyone's going through all of this. If you haven't yet found your people and you're not comfortable talking to, a mentor, you don't have a mentor, you don't know how to find one, just start, read. We can recommend some books. We've got this podcast as an example of resources out there that you can just listen to other people talking about how hard all of this is. I without I don't want everybody just kind of think, oh my God, this is going to be really hard. You can do this. If you're interested in going to law school, if you're that kind of a person, you can absolutely do this. So none of this is meant to kind of scare you off. It's about making sure that you have the awareness and the tools to get you through so that you can really excel, be the best person that you can be so that you can be the best lawyer that you can be. You cannot be your best lawyer self if you're not already your best, if you're not working towards being your best just self. We are human beings. We are not robots. We need to take care of ourselves. And I don't want to forget to talk about sleep. Make sure you do that. We unfortunately, this goes beyond the legal culture as well. Just we live in a world where we kind of think, okay, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That doesn't work. We cannot think well when we don't sleep. And don't get me wrong, I understand that a lot of you are going through finals right now. I've been there too. I've also had my lack of sleep. I do not think well when I haven't slept. I realize it's hard and you're, kind of figuring out how to be productive and how to cram it all in. And so you're pulling all these all-nighters. Hopefully you're not, but you might be, and you're not getting enough sleep, or you're, trying to get the sleep, but you're not falling asleep. You're dealing with insomnia because you're just too stressed out. There are tools, available to help you. And, I would be, if anyone, at any point would be interested in chatting with me and I can help you kind of walk through or put together a wellness practice. I have a wellness routine that I start my day with every single day. There are things that I do to start my morning off right. And it's things that energize me and help me to be focused. And if I miss those things, I feel off. None of this is a one size fits all. It does take time to figure out what's really authentic to you and what's going to work for you. And so, the Wellness Esquire website that I've been putting together, it's a compilation of lawyers and law students' journeys, because this isn't about being perfect. This isn't a one size fits all sort of a thing. It really needs to work for you. The Wellness Esquire is really about bringing together a community to show that there are so many ways to take care of yourself. And there's so many ways that you can make sure that you're, prioritizing your own well-being so that you can succeed. There are a million ways to do it. One person's go-to wellness practice is soccer. I never would have thought of that. So you can really get creative and figure out who am I? What's going to work for me? And not think that, well, she does meditation, so that's what I have to do. No, and there are also many different kinds of meditation. So there are a lot of ways to make this work for you. And as I said, if anybody wants to reach out to me afterwards, I'd be more than happy to help you figure that out for yourself. But it's my opinion that if you're looking for a happy and successful law career, you have to, the most important thing is to learn how to prioritize and take care of yourself. So I'm going to stop there and see if anybody has any questions or comments that I can try to address.
Thank you so much for that, Ariella. Yeah, while everybody's thinking about their questions, please, feel free to jump on camera and ask away if you would like. Ariella, if you feel yourself very stressed out while you're in law school, and you're starting to doubt yourself and think like, maybe this isn't for me, what are your suggestions for people who are feeling that way?
I think the first thing to realize is that you are not the only one thinking that, and that lots of lawyers, if not all lawyers who are now practicing, who have, successfully passed the bar, at least one, and have careers as lawyers, most of us had that thought in law school. So recognize that you're not alone. And also think about, well, why do you think that? Why do you think that just because this isn't coming so naturally to me and that I'm not, it's hard? Why does that make you think that you can't do it? It goes back to what I was saying earlier, that for a lot of us, we get to law school and all of a sudden there's this thing that we're not amazing at, and we don't know what to do with it. But that doesn't mean that we can't. We just have to figure out how to do it. It's a different way of learning. It's a different way of using our brain. And so learn to kind of train yourself to understand that hard doesn't mean, that I can't do it. It means that it's hard. And maybe that's, learn to just kind of retrain your mind to understand that something that's hard, that's exciting. If you're freaking out about something, understand that, oh, I'm nervous because I'm excited because this is important to me. This is hard. Okay, so that's exciting because, not just anybody could do it. I will, tell yourself without, kind of reframe in your mind, rather than saying, I can't do this, say this, I can't do this yet. I don't understand this yet. Help yourself understand that, you don't have to be perfect at anything. And this isn't even about perfection. You don't have to get it the first time. So I think, that reframing is really important, and understanding that you're not alone. And go find someone to talk to about it, whether it's, if you're too kind of nervous to talk to your classmates about it, and because you're thinking everyone else gets it but me, and I've certainly been there, talk to me. I'll talk to you. I think try to develop, and it's not as easy as it sounds. You do have to, put work into finding mentors who you're comfortable talking to and being so open with, but they are out there. And if you can learn to be vulnerable and show up in a way that you're really, shedding all of those fears, and you're not putting up a shield of strength, let yourself own that you're freaking out and that it's hard and you're worried about what this means, and help, let other people help you understand why you're having those thoughts and help you work through that.
Yeah, I think, with mentoring, one of the things that helps people build relationships in our program is that we start off giving them targeted objectives. So if you start working with your mentor on a targeted objective, it gives you a chance to get to know them better. And then naturally, you will start talking about things that are more personal, generally. You have to take time to build that trust, though, and take time to build that rapport. So to start off with, you might ask them to work on something very small, concrete, like helping you look at your resume or something like that, something pretty objective that they can do, so that you both get to know each other. And as you get to know each other better, then you can start, sharing more details about yourself. Your mentor will probably start sharing more details about themselves, but it's not going to feel natural. Like, people think that mentoring is a natural thing. It really isn't. I mean, it's just like dating. Like, you go out there and you're sharing these very personal things about yourself. You have no idea how it's being received on the other end. So, don't think that it should just feel natural, even if you're paired with a mentor through a program or something. It may not, which is why you just start small. You start with one objective and then expand it to something else. And then as they start opening up more, then you open up more. But it will take time. So.
Yeah. And also, just like with dating, some mentors may not be the right fit for you. And that's also fine. Pay attention. Are you comfortable? Do you feel like you can, if you're having all these conversations, it's been a couple months and you don't actually feel like you can ask the questions you really want to ask because you feel like they're judging you, which is unlikely. I think anyone who's looking to mentor, a law student or a lawyer, they're looking to be helpful. But if you feel like you can't open up, look for somebody else, or, identify, well, are they trying to let me open up and I'm just too blocked to allow it? Look into, try to understand what's going on there as well.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, I know we're at the top of the hour, so I don't want to go too far over. But thank you so much, Ariella, for spending your time with us today. I really, really appreciate it. I know everybody's very busy right now trying to wrap up the end of the year, so I really appreciate all of you for taking time out of your day to spend with us. And next week, we actually have our last meetups of the year, so we're actually going to be doing kind of a LinkedIn boot camp. So on Tuesday, it's LinkedIn Super Skills 1 one, we're going to be talking about just how to create your profiles, how to make them super impactful so that you can really dive in and network with a lot of people on LinkedIn and they can get to know you. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about engagement strategies, ways that you can start posting yourself, ways to engage other professionals, and ways to really start developing relationships in the LinkedIn community. So come check us out next week. And then we have our last virtual happy hour of the year on next Friday, where we actually do one-on-one speed networking. So come join us for that, Ariella and Bob, if you are available. It's open to all lawyers, current law students, and pre-law students. And we'll break you out into one-on-one breakout rooms so you get to know some people, and then we'll switch everybody around again and they'll get to know another person one-on-one. So it's really fun. I hope you guys have a chance to join us. Thank you so much again for your time today, Ariella, and I'll catch you all next week.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.